52.6% Nigerian. That's my DNA. Whole genome, my heritage V2.5 from a cheek swab in this room. It means my ancestors, the ones who ended up enslaved in Virginia and marched down to Mississippi, came, more than half, from what is today one country, Nigeria. And when I traced back who put them on the ships, I found something I did not expect. It wasn't Europe. Before I go a single step further, the title says cousins. I need to be honest about what that means. Not literal blood cousins I could find on a family tree. Cousins in the sense that the people who captured, sold, and marched my third great-grandfather to the coast came from the same ethnic group my DNA points back to. Igbos captured Igbos. That's what I found. And I'm going to show you, because here's what I mean by the record. Not one document, an archive. A 250-year confederacy that a British colonial army had to defeat in the war in 1902. A trader's diary preserved in Edinburgh. British ship logs. Slave Voyages database entries. Cambridge University Press. This story is documented, and it points at an institution most Americans, black or white, have never heard of. My third great-grandfather was named Jeff Coleman, born around 1814, North Carolina. My third great-grandmother, Minuroy Coleman, born around 1830, Virginia, both enslaved. Both marched to Mississippi by force through the domestic slave trade, the Second Middle Passage. In 1870, they appear together on a census page as free people with 6 children. That's proven. But Jeff and Minuroy's parents, whoever put them on this continent, are the question in this video. Here's the first number that changed things for me. Between 1660 and 1730, roughly half of every African arriving in Virginia directly from Africa came from one region, the Bight of Biafra. That's the southeastern coast of what's now Nigeria. Not West Africa broadly, not Central Africa. That specific bay and that specific window. That's when Minuroy's Virginia line began. And of those Bight of Biafra arrivals, a clear majority, historians say the great majority, were Igbo speaking, which means at peak decades, up to 40% of enslaved Virginians were Igbo, not African generically, Igbo specifically. That number lands on my DNA like an overlay. 52.6% Nigerian, 40% of Virginians enslaved. The math points the same. Almost every one of those captives passed through just 3 ports. 3. Bonny, Elem Kalabari, which the British called New Calabar, and Old Calabar, which was really a place called Akwa Akpa. Between 1725 and 1775, tens of thousands of enslaved people every year from just 3 coastal towns onto British ships headed for Virginia. But here's what surprised me. Those 3 ports, none of them were Igbo. Bonny and Elem Kalabari were Ijaw kingdoms. Old Calabar was Efik. 2 completely different peoples running the coast. So if the Igbos were the ones getting shipped, and the Ijaw and Efik ran the ports, who was actually catching? The answer is a town called Arochukwu, in present-day Abia State, Nigeria. Founded around 1690 by an Igbo subgroup called the Aro. And what they built over roughly 250 years was a confederacy. Not a kingdom in the European sense, a network, decentralized, spiritual, commercial, and lethal. At the center of Arochukwu was an oracle called Ibini Ukpabi, the long Juju. A shrine hidden in caves and gorges. Communities across Igboland brought their disputes there, believing the oracle spoke for God. But when the oracle judged you guilty, you did not go home. You walked into the caves. You were sold out the back. That's how the system fed the ships. This is the Aro Confederacy. From the late 1600s to 1902, they dominated the interior supply chain for the entire Bight of Biafra trade. 200 to 300 daughter settlements embedded across southeastern Nigeria, allied warrior clans, the Abam, the Ohafia, the Edda running the raids, and the oracle at the center, condemning the innocent when demand was high. Igbos captured, sold, marched by... If you've hit a brick wall around 1870 tracing your black Southern family, I want you to hear something. The reason the wall is there, and the reason your ancestor's name is missing before it, is that this system was designed to erase them. From capture in Igboland to a numbered slot in a British ship's ledger. Subscribe. I'm showing one real archive every... So here's the pipeline my third great-grandmother's ancestor came through. Captured in the Igbo interior, maybe by Aro warriors, maybe by an oracle judgment, marched to the coast along an Aro monopoly route, sold at Bonny or Elem Kalabari to an Ijaw house trader from the Probable dynasty, or sold to Old Calabar to an Efik trading house under Ekpe society oversight, loaded onto a British ship, 6 to 8 weeks across the Atlantic, Yorktown, Virginia. We have the diary. Antera Duke, an Efik trader at Old Calabar in the 1780s, kept a daily journal in trade English. It survives. It's in Edinburgh. It's the only known diary of any African slave trader that exists. He records ship arrivals. He records the count of people sold. He records Comey, the customs duties he charged the British captains. 7,500 people in the 3 years his diary covers. Written down in his own hand.
And I'll tell you the darkest thing I found. In 1767, the Efik ruling house at Duketown made a deal with 6 British ship captains. They invited the leaders of the rival Old Town aboard the British ships to settle a dispute, guarantees of safety. When they came aboard, they were seized. Some killed, others sold into slavery. Duketown got its trade monopoly back. The British got their captives. documented in...
Let me be precise about what's proven here, because that's what this channel is. Proven. The 1870 census page, Jeff Minuroy, 6 children, Winston County, Mississippi. Proven my DNA, 52.6% Nigerian cluster, my heritage via 2.5. Proven 1.6 million enslaved people embarked from the Bight of Biafra, majority Igbo, disproportionately to Virginia. Proven the Aro Confederacy, cited in Cambridge University Press, Nwokeji 2000.
Probable, my Nigerian cluster DNA traces predominantly to Igbo ancestors moved through this specific pipeline. Open, which particular Aro lineage, which specific oracle judgment, which named warrior clan, touched the ancestor whose blood I carry. I will never know that. The honesty is that the record ends where their names were never written down.
The Aro Confederacy, the British Empress Aro, of the fight they won, the long shrine was attacked. The Confederacy fell in 1802, the last independent African kingdom in what is now Nigeria to fall to British rule. 250 years of the trade, ended by the same empire that had bought its captives for the previous century. So when I say I found the Africans who sold my ancestor to Virginia, I mean I found an institution, date mapped, sitting in British colonial archives. The story is not Europeans came and took them. The story is my Igbo ancestors were captured by other Igbos at the direction of an oracle, moved by warriors, sold at Ijaw or Efik ports, loaded onto British ships, and sent to a colony in Virginia that was 2/3 Bight of Biafra by origin. Every link in that chain is documented. The record finally has names in it: Arochukwu, Duke of Fram, Antera Duke, the Aro Confederacy, Ibini Ukpabi, the Abam, and the Ohafia. And on this end, Jeff Coleman, Minuroy, Louisa, Anderson, Harry, Isaac, Lucinda, Patsy. 200 years of silence between them. Now the two ends of the same chain in the same archive. That's the story I was looking for.